So I was out today and I was walking around, and right now we're in the dead of winter. It's 32 degrees actually today, right now, locally, according to AccuWeather. And I was walking around and I happened to walk by a juniper bush that I usually walk by. Um, and there, laying on the ground next to the juniper tree, was a branch that presumably had been overloaded by snow and broken off. And so I was like, all right, well, I have not as of yet been very successful with propagating trees for bonsai. But the more I do, the more I go, the more I learn, and the better I get. And so I'm not saying that this will be a successful project, but I bent down and I grabbed that juniper branch that I saw laying there on the ground, and I brought it home. And what I proceeded to do was at the very base, right near where the branch broke from the original plant, from the parent plant, I cut probably about, I want to say, let's say like 6 inches worth of bark in a long strip, all the way down to the heartwood, going along. Of course, I peeled away the branches that were along that portion of the tree. I cut away, I actually I pinched away all of the branches that were there. And then I took my knife, like I said, and I scored the bark down to the heartwood, for about, that 6-8 inch length. And then what I did is I took this here string and I bent the branch sort of in a U shape back over the top of it. And having done that, I was then able to secure the branch to this tray and layer in some soil on top. And of course, the section of cut that I made is facing down. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be successful, but I am hoping that in doing so, I will have created an area for roots to propagate along that strip that I cut down to the heartwood. I have heard that it is possible to root a juniper cutting this way, and we're in an okay time of year to be trying this. Usually, you would wait and do something like this in more early or let's say late winter, early spring, right? So, I mean, it's January. We're nearing the end of January, so it might be a little bit early in the year to be trying this. But I figured nature already took the branch out. I might as well give her a shot. Now, you may be able to see this, but I've left most of the foliage on the portion of the branch that is currently sitting down in the bottom of the tray, because in a situation like this, where we're trying to encourage this branch to root, you want as much foliar mass as possible to feed the plant, to sustain it and give it photosynthetic material to push out roots. Again, I've never really been successful at an endeavor like this, but I'm hoping that with all that I have learned about bonsai and cultivating trees, that I can get this to work. I haven't used any rooting hormone. I'm sure that would certainly help if I did have rooting hormone to use, but I am hoping that there's enough foliar mass here to do the trick. The soil composition that I have put in this tray is a mix of real sandy, small pebble media, as well as topsoil or sort of planting soil substrate. What I'm doing currently is dipping my fingers into a cup of water and just running my fingers with that water along the foliar mass to moisten the branches. I hear that in a situation where you are trying to encourage a plant to, especially like a juniper, to push out roots, that it really helps to keep the branches moist. And that simply keeps the photosynthetic media healthy and, full of life. Junipers are an impressively hardy plant. They can survive really incredible things, and that really is largely what makes them such valuable media for use as a bonsai. And if this plant does take and does root, that's going to be super incredible because I can actually turn the break into a feature of the overall presentation of this bonsai, and that would be super, super cool. I'm kind of, when you do bonsai, you're always sort of thinking about what you can possibly do to display a tree, or basically tell the story that you want to tell of that plant. And one of the techniques that I really get sort of intrigued by is a style of bonsai that incorporates a rock, and the style is actually called root over rock. And effectively, it makes the tree look as though it has been sort of forced by snowpack to grow up against the side of a rock. And as that snowpack in nature pushes against that tree and keeps it sort of smushed to that rock, over time, the tree will actually grow, forming around that rock and cling to it. So I think this tree would be an especially cool specimen to try to achieve that with this feature incorporated. So effectively, I can tell a story where you know, some snowstorm came and a parent plant had a branch break off of it. The branch fell in a particular way up against the rock, and the tree was um, found what it needed to find to survive that and grow through that. I think that would be a really, really awesome story to tell with this piece. So, the first step, obviously, is to encourage this piece to root, which means at the moment, all I really have done for it is to cut that strip along the bottom sort of 6-8 inches, and that will provide the surface contact to the soil to hopefully encourage rooting down there. That's for the next year or so. That's really, really what this plant is going to be focused on if I can manage to keep it alive. It's going to require a lot of what I'm doing right here with it, where I'm just running my fingers with drips of water all along and all over this foliar mass to really give it good moisture and make sure that these photosynthetic portions of the plant don't dry out and that they remain healthy. And then next year, or possibly in slow drips and drabs, I can very, very slowly apply wiring to shape the tree as I go along. And that'll be especially good too, because as I'm running my hands through it, I can really consider what this presentation has to offer in terms of interesting structure and make style decisions about it in terms of what branches to keep. I know. So the offset, the imbalance of this tree really occurs over here where I have created the overhang, really taking advantage of this really ultimately becoming the main stem and trunk of the tree. And if this is going to continue to be sort of where the visual weight of this tree persists, then I'm going to want to do something over here and encourage this to fill out, not quite as much, but to fill out, to balance, to give it an asymmetry. There is going to need to be a little bit of work over in this space, which there's already plenty of options for. There's a couple of branches already growing in that spot. But as I go along, I may actually want to take some of the mass that is over here and redirect it back over to fill in the void over here. I think it just depends on as I'm looking at this, what I ultimately want to end up doing with it, because the other thing that I like to do with it, if this particular tree lends itself to it, especially in the future when I know for sure if it's going to survive, is it would be really, really neat to incorporate, in addition to that root over rock style feature to this tree, I'd also like to do a cascade with it, taking advantage of this foliar mass over here and really allowing the continued growth to keep growing down and down and down far beyond the pot that it's kept in. So we'll see what happens. I think I think it'll be really, really neat to make design decisions about this piece and see kind of what I can make it into. For the time being, I'm just going to love on this thing. I think that is all I can do for now to ensure the best possible chance to allow this piece to survive the break that it underwent, and we'll see if it continues, or if it is successful in living through this. Fingers crossed. Anyway, for now, I'm just petting my plant. Just petting my plant. Hopefully, I'm really hoping this works. I'm really hoping this works. I managed to cultivate another juniper. It's not nearly as impressive, and it is showing some real signs of struggling. And when I was harvesting it, unfortunately, it had a really deep taproot going down underneath some, let's call it river rock sized rock. And as I was harvesting it, the majority of the feeder roots stayed in the ground. So I'm not sure it'll survive, but I'm gonna do what I can to try to keep it alive, and hopefully I've learned enough to allow it to cultivate. That one I'm actually using snow to water it, because like I said, it is that time of the year. And one of the things about trees, one of the mistakes that I've made with bonsai in the past is that, being that trees obviously grow outdoors, they expect to experience the seasons. If they don't experience the seasons, it can actually stop some very important growth processes in the plant. And so it really is important to expose the tree to those temperatures. Now, even with, a cultivated, well-maintained bonsai tree, you do want to shelter it somewhat from the harshest of the conditions. A lot of like bonsai growers will actually create a box that they put their trees in the wintertime for 6 to 8 hours, more than typically during overnight, to allow the tree to experience its normal processes in, a winter climate. And certainly, for this specimen, if it survives, and for that specimen, if it survives, I'm going to want to do that. I'm going to want to make sure that both, that I give these trees that winter treatment. Right now, both of these specimens have some pretty harsh problems or conditions to overcome that I've subjected them to. So, right now, you might consider that these plants are in the emergency room, and I'm not going to really subject them to the harsh conditions outside for the moment. And really, again, that is to encourage them to, or to give them what they need for now to overcome what they've experienced, and give them the best shot at surviving this. But anyway, that's what we got for now. I'm just going to continue to wet the foliar mass of this tree so that it has the best opportunity to survive this. We'll talk to you later.